This is the Integrate Intelligently podcast from CAD Talk Software, a podcast about the people, programs, and processes that come together to make businesses successful. At CAD Talk, we're a software integration company, but we believe this idea of intelligent integration goes much deeper than software.
Hello, welcome to the Integrate Intelligently podcast. I'm your host today, Jeff Brickler with CAD Talk. Today, this week, we're at IFS Unleashed in Orlando, Florida, the premier IFS conference, world conference, where customers and partners from all over the world come to see what IFS is doing with IFS Cloud and the new industrial AI. I have today with us a colleague that I work with at IFS, Tyler Sarich. Tyler, it's great to have you here.
Yeah, great to be here, Jeff. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm excited to be here in Orlando with you and to be back and meeting all of our contacts at IFS. So yeah, you and I have worked together for a while here. Tell me a little bit about yourself. Where are you from? What you do here at IFS.
Sure. Quick background on myself is I've been with the company just over 9 years now. I actually began in the implementation side. So I've implemented product to various customers in the manufacturing space, whether it be in the project-based manufacturing, discrete, or process manufacturing industries. Then I jumped over to pre-sales about 6-7 years ago, where I handled product from engineering to manufacturing, inventory, warehousing, and quality. I'm located in Chicago and had a nice flight down here to Orlando.
That's great. So like you, we both started on the consulting side, right? Working with the product. So you talked about being in pre-sales. Tell the audience a bit about what does that mean, you're in pre-sales? Because I remember when I first heard that term pre-sales, it sounded really weird to me. Like, how do you pre-sell something?
Yes, I guess you could say it's an industry-specific term. But ultimately, of course, with every deal you have with your sales rep, your account manager, and they're developing that relationship with the customer. What myself and my team does, we're ultimately the functional experts in that arm to the customer. We're actually going on site, finding out what the customer does and what they're using today, let's say, to go through their manufacturing process, how they're handling their financials, their supply chain, their engineering, bill of materials, their routings, and ultimately, we take that, what they're doing today, and put it into an IFS solution, not only to take what they do today and putting it in a solution, but how can we make their lives easier and better? And along the way, with some companies that are using, let's say, an AutoCAD or a Windchill, we do find need to bring CAD Talk into those deals if they want to have that true bidirectional relationship with IFS from, let's say, AutoCAD, in a sense that, yeah, out of the box, we can handle your standard import from Excel into our PDM. But some of our customers do want that bidirectional collaboration and bringing that information into whether it be our manufacturing bill of materials, or Jeff and I have worked and gotten created on several deals to bring that into other areas of the software as well. But ultimately, we handle that true solution side during that sales cycle.
Yeah, I always joke that I'm like the demo jockey, right? The demo monkey. You sit to show the product.
Yeah, pretty much.
So, Tyler, did you want to get into manufacturing and consulting? How did you get into consulting to begin with? Do you have a manufacturing background? Are you an engineer? How did you?
None of the above, actually. I started working with IFS pretty much right out of school, where they did this basically new starters program that they wanted to get, kind of kids that were coming right out of college and get them educated on, well, one, the ERP software industry being IFS, but also I started implementation as a junior consultant, where I really got to shadow different individuals for about the first 1.5 to 2 years of my career before ultimately starting to take projects on my own. But that's how I developed my experiences, real world experience, in the sense of taking customers from the initiation phase all the way to the go live throughout that process, but being able to leverage my colleagues in a lot of steps throughout that process and ask different questions, where all of my experience comes from really face-to-face with customer and real-life scenarios. So not an engineer or a manufacturer by trade, no.
Okay. Well, what'd you go to school for?
I went to schools for sales, specifically in the marketing side. I thought I was going to be in the sales world, and then eventually moved to IFS, really liked the consulting side, and I fell in love with the manufacturing space and what we can do for our customers ultimately. And then I took that sales background and moved it so I could present to customers what the solution could be, but also be more solution selling to them in a sales perspective in a sense as well. So taking my college education and weaving it into my previous experiences.
Yeah, like you, I have a non-engineering, non-manufacturing background. And like you, I experience just working with customers and getting that real-world experience live, learning what customers do, learning manufacturing, learning how manufacturers work, all that vocabulary. I don't know. One of the hardest things for me when I started working in manufacturing was just so much new vocabulary, not just manufacturing specific vocabulary, but lots of like synonyms. So people would use 10 different words to refer to the same thing. And every company you'd go to, for example, for like a master data, like an item, and that could be an item, it could be a part, it could be a stock item, it could be a stock code, could be an engineering part. I mean, just a myriad of vocabulary to mean the same thing. And so that was a real challenge for me in the beginning. What was the toughest part for you when you were learning manufacturing?
No, that's a good question. I like to refer to it as kind of the alphabet soup in ERP. One, ERP in itself is an acronym for Enterprise Resource Planning. But as you're going through and learning all these different planning type of options for MRP, Advanced Planning Board, ATP, our different planning type mentality, that's where learning those acronyms and really finding out exactly what they meant was, for me, an initial struggle as well. Learning what CRP is, capacity requirements planning. And everybody has different verbiage for that, as you mentioned, where master planning, master scheduling to one company means something totally different to another. In an IFS language, it means more of taking a forecast and building a demand associated to that forecast and consuming that forecast. But to some customers, the master forecast means something totally different. It's more of an S&OP. There's another acronym for you, a sales and operation planning type of process, as opposed to what we would say master scheduling is. So I would agree there where it's that alphabet soup of acronyms, but also, like you mentioned, this customer-specific verbiage as well, where a shop order in IFS are manufacturing order. Some call that a work order, which is a maintenance work order in IFS. So that's totally different on a per customer-by-customer level, and having to learn that verbiage, one, helps us tailor that to different customers during the demo cycle. It shows we understand them. We also have to do an IFS dictionary in a sense of what they mean in a true ERP sense as well.
Yeah, I make no secret. I used to a teacher, and I taught language, and I have a background in language. And so I always found it very interesting. To your point, is that a lot of the consulting work is talking to the customer and understanding their language, their vocabulary, to talk about the concepts they know and well and how their company works, but translating those into terms that you all can agree on. So a lot of the work is, I remember when I'm doing demonstrations or even when I worked in projects, this customer would explain to me what they're doing for engineering or manufacturing, and then I would have to translate that into what my brain, how it would work, and then I would say it back to them and say, so what I understand is that, it works like this, and I call it this or that, and in IFS they call it this other thing, and then we would go around and round and then agree that all these terms meant the same thing. We were all in agreement.
Yeah. And we still ultimately provide the same value to those customers, still going to provide the solution for them. It's just ultimately aligning. And when it comes to us going through the project plan, the project scope, knowing how we're going to handle that and really speak the same language as we're going through the process to ultimately take you from implementation to that, have that true value-added ROI scenario of bringing IFS Cloud live.
Right. That makes a lot of sense. So when you worked in consulting, how many years did you work in consulting?
Just a little over 2. Like I said, a majority of that time was spent in more of the junior role, shadowing and getting the experience I need to ultimately go to pre-sales. And then I handled a couple of different projects where I was a manufacturing lead in that case from an implementation standpoint. So quick stint, majority of my time was spent on the project-based manufacturing team. So those true engineer to order type of companies where they're going to use our work breakdown structure and our true projects to ultimately have the full PPAP or APQP process of going through the design, prototyping, manufacturing, and ultimately sales cycle with that product.
Did you like consulting, or would you just really wanted to get into like that sales and sales consulting?
I like them both. It seems it's more of a mixed bag of ultimately what you'd want to do. In my sense, when you're in consulting, you're usually working on 1 to 2, maybe 3 projects a year, and you're basically married to that customer in the sense of you're working with them, you're going to their site on a week-to-week, month-by-month basis, which is fine, and I like doing that. In the pre-sales, what that gives me opportunity to do is I can work on anywhere from 20 to 50 customers in a year, and I get to see all different types of industries, which I love. One of my favorite parts of doing pre-sales is actually getting the discovery and the plant tours of all the different type of customers we have, whether it be, an A&D customer, somebody who manufactures jet engines, all the way through a pet food manufacturer. So there's a broad spectrum of customers we can handle all within the same mixed mode manufacturing engine that is IFS Cloud. And being in pre-sales gives me the option to explore all those different avenues, if you will. So both are fun in their own ways. I'm just attracted to more of those kind of quick sales cycle processes, or a sales cycle could be up to a year. It could be longer. But ultimately, the different types of customers I can deal with on a day-to-day basis is what attracted me to the new role.
I was just going to say, Tyler was wrapping up about his experience in pre-sales with doing a demonstration and how he liked to work with lots of different companies. Same, my teaching background definitely helped with presenting and getting in front of our customers and being comfortable with that because, you're on the stage, right? You're there doing the thing and you're trying to deliver value of how you can help solve the problems that the customer has and, because they're always looking for something. So thanks, Tyler, for mindful. Tyler's got things to do. So, man, I really appreciate you stopping by. Thanks a lot.
Any final questions before I go back, though?
No, that's great. It's great to have you here. Thanks for stopping by and enjoy the conference.
Yeah, absolutely. You too. I appreciate having y'all here. And once again, all the work that CAD Talk does for us actually helps us be a true integrator or true, I'd say, differentiator in the market with that integration that we can, obviously do to different avenues within IFS, whether it be directly to the engineering side, to the manufacturing side. We work with doing it to the project deliverable side. It's been very beneficial for us to work with CAD Talk and, really be able to show those live during demonstrations really stands out as opposed to some of our competitors might just use a PowerPoint, for instance, to show that. So it's very helpful for us. So thank you, Jeff and team.
Thanks, Tyler. So, hey, welcome back to the Integrate Intelligently podcast. I am here with a special guest for the second time, Steve Mould, all the way from the UK. So all here to Orlando. Steve, welcome again for the second time on the Integrate Intelligently podcast.
Well, hi, Jeff. It's a real privilege to be here at Unleashed. Really exciting conference. And it's great to see you again. And looking forward to the whole of this exhibition is so exciting. And the opportunity to be here with CAD Talk and meet their customers is fantastic.
So, Steve, I know that on our last conversation, we talked about your vast experience in IFS. What do you like about coming to these events?
So it's a fantastic opportunity to meet old friends and colleagues, to meet with customers, and to share experiences. You've got loads of war stories that happen on these implementations. And, yeah, it's an opportunity to share that experience, listen to some people's concerns, their challenges in the business, and maybe give them a little bit of confidence and encouragement along the way.
Yeah, that makes sense. What I like about these events is, to your point, like seeing in person. Since you're in the UK and I'm in the US, it's not too often that you and I get to see each other in person. So this is a great time for that. Also to see the customers, to your point, now that we live in this remote world, you see everybody sort of 2D on a screen here. It's nice to shake hands and share a meal and be together because you can build a relationship so much more deeply when you're sitting across from someone at a table having a pint or just having a meal than you can just through the screen. So for me, just love being here and, seeing the people that you work with very often, but don't see all the time. So, Steve, how long are you here for?
So I'm here for the whole event. So I landed Saturday and I fly out again next Saturday. So I've got a full itinerary, lots of sessions to go to on the keynote stage. Really excited to hear some of the things that IFS have been bringing to market. The AI message looks really exciting. Something that will really bring some benefits to businesses over the next 2 or 3 years. Looking at sustainability, it's a very important thing for lots of businesses. And then looking at some of the, if you like, wraparound tools, things like CAD Talk that will bring lots of efficiency gains and optimization. It's just great to see the eco partner network growing, becoming more mature. Yeah, it's great. It's really good.
So what excites you most about what IFS has recently done? I mean, you've been with IFS, working with projects for 20 years at least. What excites you most about what IFS has, announced here recently?
Well, I guess I've been in the ERP space about 30 years, IFS 25 years. And actually, we're back here in Orlando. And I was here 20 years ago at the IFS conference in this same hotel. And to see how the ecosystem has grown, there's more customers, there's more capability. It's really exciting to see the ongoing development of the business. And again, as I said before, to see friends, colleagues, customers, that's what makes it worthwhile.
So since you've been with the IFS for 25 years, you must know just about everyone, don't you?
Well, there's lots of new people coming in, and there's some people that are now retiring, so I'm starting to feel old.
Yeah, it happens to us, doesn't it? I know. Well, what sessions have you gone to?
So far, the keynote speaks and then the sustainability. And I've got a number of exec meetings coming up to have meetings with the exec sort of team to understand how, we can work together and collaborate. I'm working on several customer projects. So it's an opportunity to sort of build those relationships.
Yeah, I think, the takeaway for me, for what you're saying, is that this is a great opportunity to build relationships, because the relationships matter so much, especially with, I find with all customers, but we work with a lot of manufacturing companies, and that relationship, that trust that you can build in person is important, because, these companies depend upon the systems and the software that we use, IFS or CATalk or any of those things, to run their businesses run. So the better you can build those relationships and that you're a partner, just the better the project can go, because everybody knows that they're working for the same goal rather than just a one-off or just, a business source, a money source.
Well, Jeff, sometimes people make that investment and they're still not sure and confident that this solution is going to bring the value. And so them having to come to a place like this and talk to people who've got the experience and done it, it's really reassuring and helps them with that next step, Yeah,
it's good, because you can come to IFS like this and see other customers who've been successful, partners, consultants, other folks related to the ecosystem, can help reassure them and also give them tips like, hey, we did this and it was successful, or hey, we did this and it didn't work, or whatever. That community, right? I think Mark, the CEO, talks about the community, like IFS being a community, and it makes a big difference, right? Because that community, people can learn from each other, and it almost feels like a small community, right? Even though it's a lot of people, I think it's 8,000 IFS employees, you get 8,000 people in a customer. If you get a lot of people together, it can still feel like a small community, even though there's so many people. So what does it look like for you in the next several months? Are you going to work on more projects? Are you going to be traveling in the U.S. and more? I mean, what are you up to?
Well, I'm really fortunate. I'm working with a motorsports company and delivering a turnkey project that'll take them from finance, procurement, straight into manufacturing and engineering, the whole supply chain, inventory management. So I've really been working with an incredible team, the customers team, very knowledgeable and very quick-paced project. And then I'll be moving on to another project soon that's more of a global type project with different types of challenges, probably 23 different companies which haven't got a standard set of processes. So that project's really around bringing and building a common standard set of processes, and then looking to a series of waves to implement into each business. Some of them centralizing, some of them not, So that's going to be quite a long-term project, and I'm really excited to be joining that team and working with the businesses to deliver what is the investment value that the private equity company expects.
So what do you like most about working on these ERP projects? I mean, you've been doing it for 30 years, you said, and what drives you? Like, what gets you excited? Because I would imagine, like anything you do for that long, it can get repetitive, right? It's the same sort of thing. But what keeps you excited, day in and day out to keep going up there and doing those projects?
Well, you learn on every single project, and it's about relationships. So you're meeting new people. You've got different business challenges, and you're trying to design a solution that's going to be really effective and bring the customer value. And so every project's different. It's got different challenges, but some of the design principles are all the same. So building on that knowledge and experience, you can actually deliver loads of value. And that brings a lot of personal pleasure, a professional perspective, but also you make friends and you have new colleagues, new relationships. So I've been doing this for so long. I just love it. I love challenges, business challenges. I love finding solutions that are creative, and I'm very analytical in my approach. So it might look as if it's easy, but actually there's a lot of work that goes in behind the scenes to make sure it's a success.
What would you tell someone in university, considering a career, right? Because there's so many things you could do. What would be your pitch to say, go work for IFS, go work in ERP and project management? Like, what's the pitch? Why would someone do that?
Well, my personal view is I love teaching, mentoring younger people on projects. But I think there's a real value in going into business and getting experience in business. Actually go and do the thing that you need to do in business. And when you've got that experience, you can then bring that into a consulting role. And you've actually got the real life experience that you can bring into consulting. Yes, it's important for graduates to come through, but some of the best consultants I've worked with are people that come from industry. You know, they've got that real life experience. They've run sales operations, they've run manufacturing plants, and from that experience, they can then come and talk with confidence about how to implement ERP successfully.
I say this a lot of times, and it doesn't really hit home with a lot of people because I'm only the weirdo who used to be a teacher, but a lot of what you just said is very much like teaching, right? Like the relationships, the bringing that value to the student. There's a difference in the fact that like they're adults, but it's the same concept. It's very similar. So I would say, like, if people are passionate about helping people, teaching them, you know, helping them improve, I mean, consulting is a great career. So anybody who is considering, you know, likes working with people and teaching in that capacity, of course you can become a teacher, but consulting is a real potential for them and, you know, can pay quite well. Like you said, you can learn the business, bring that value. I think
there's different types of consultants, though, in ERP. Some of them are functional. Obviously, some of them are technical. But someone that's got real-life business knowledge is going to add a lot more value into a consultative type role. And it's trying to find that balance.
Yeah, I find that even, too, like, it's a balance between that soft skills as well and the technical skills. It's all of that. So lots of balances, right? Because you have a functional consultant, but a technical consultant, but then you also have to have those soft skills, those we call it EQ, that to be able to handle all of that. But of course, the industry knowledge is critical. And like you said, the people who've worked in the industry and done that work can really speak from a place of authority. Like, I've done this, right? Like, I've experienced it. So from our perspective in CAD, right, it's like I have folks who work with us who used to work in industry, right? They worked with IFS, or they worked with other ERPs, they worked with other CAD systems. And they know what it's like to have to deal with that problem. And so when they speak, it's like they speak from a place of real authority and pain, experience. And that is a great story because it helps to connect with in fact, I had a call today with a new project briefly where they had a homegrown solution, homegrown built ERP, and integrated with a CAD system. And they were very fond of it. And the call was about how important it was to hear them and understand what they built, what they have, and how our job isn't, yes, we got to replace what they have with a more modern system, not just an integration, but also from an ERP perspective. But it's how important it is that, like, we listen and hear and be compassionate about what they're going through and help them make the transition.
It's a bit about empathy. So it's connecting, helping them on that journey of change, and taking away some of the fear.
No, I 100%. That's something that I tell a lot of our consultants too. It's like, it's that emotional intelligence, that relationship, that all of that work, right? That we think sometimes as engineers or people don't think about. It's like, you really got to work on helping the customer feel confident and that they're going to solve the problem, that you're there together, because that makes a big difference. It was very similar. Again, I was a teacher, but say that students come in your class, they're terrified. Am I going to fail this class? Is this teacher going to be mean? You know, all those things that you think about when you were a student, you know, we all have the same feeling. It's the same feeling on these projects. You feel like,
well, imagine you are in a role in a business and someone plucks you out of that role and puts you into a team who you may or may not know the team members. It's a whole new experience for them. They've never done it before. And so part of the consultant's role is to try and make sure that they know what they've got to do, when they've got to do it, and how they've got to do it, and try and help them with that decision-making process. Because if we don't make the right decisions at the right time, we're going to cause delays in the project. So consultants' role is really important, to lay out what are the options, maybe recommend from experience that this is the better one, and then help the team close out that decision log. You know, otherwise you can't go to the next stage, which is the design, build.
No, that's right. Yeah. I remember when I first started at CAD Talk, I was so focused on the technical, like getting better, because I had come from teaching, right? So but that was easy for me. But I noticed a lot of other folks that come from the other side, the technical side. And then, it's like, I got to coach them on like the emotional, that relationship building, because like people who are super technical and can solve hard problems, typically that's what they like, right? They like those sorts of things, which is good. So it's all good skills to build. So Steve, I want to be mindful of your time and make sure that, you get to other events or other things you want to do. Anything else you want to add about, your experience here or what's going on today? Or
I guess I'd just like to say that it's always fantastic spending time with you. I think what you're doing in developing your technical solutions around CAD Talk and how you're sort of working with all of the customers here, there's lots of people that have come on the stand to say how pleased they are with how things are going. Clearly, you're adding a lot of value. And I'd encourage people that are listening to the podcast, get in touch with CAD Talk if you've got an integration requirement that stitches a PLM system into IFS. Because these guys have got the experience to help you on that journey. So thanks for the time and the opportunity. It's great to drop by.
Thanks a lot, Steve. You have a good conference, and we'll talk soon.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Integrate Intelligently podcast from CAD Talk Software. Don't forget to subscribe on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts so you never miss future episodes. Video versions of the podcast will be available on CAD Talk's YouTube page, linked in the show notes. The Integrate Intelligently podcast is hosted by CAD Talk CEO Scott Brickler and CRO Jeff Brickler. Our producer is myself, Marketing Manager John Thomas. If you have a story you want to share on the podcast or you want to partner with us, let us know. Email marketing@cadtalk.com and be sure to mention podcast in the subject line.